Listen, my friend. Sometimes, we forget that Allah is closer to us than our own jugular vein, yet we speak to Him as if He is far away. Prayer is not a ritual to be rushed. It is a conversation, a connection, a lifeline. When you learn to talk to Allah with sincerity, humility, and presence, you'll see doors open that you never imagined. And your heart will find peace even before your prayers are answered. When you approach Allah with honesty and no pretense, you are coming to Him in the purest form of worship, because there is no mask between you and your Creator, no rehearsed lines, no artificial words designed to sound pious to others, only the raw truth of your soul speaking to the One, who already knows everything hidden within you, yet still wants to hear it from your lips. For Allah does not require our words to know our condition, but He loves the humility and sincerity that flows when we speak from the depths of our hearts without polishing it for human approval. And when you stand before Him in salah, or sit quietly in dua, you don't have to sound like a scholar. You don't have to use complicated Arabic phrases if you don't know them. You don't have to pretend to be more righteous than you are. Instead, you can tell Him exactly where you are in life, exactly what you've done, exactly what you're struggling with, without fear that He will misunderstand or judge you unfairly, for His mercy is greater than all your sins combined, and His knowledge of your reality is more accurate than your own perception of it. And this honesty is not just about confessing your mistakes, but also about acknowledging your weaknesses, your doubts, your moments of spiritual laziness, your seasons of emotional drought, because when you hide those things in your heart, pretending they don't exist, you are only closing the door to His help. But when you expose them to Him, you are admitting that you are a servant in need. You are opening the way for His guidance, for His strength to fill the empty spaces you cannot fill yourself. And this level of honesty also means speaking to Allah in your own language, if that's what brings the deepest connection. Telling Him in your mother tongue how lost you feel, how anxious you are, how desperately you want to do better. For it is not the sophistication of your words that moves His mercy, but the sincerity behind them. And when you stop performing for the world, and start speaking to Allah as your Lord, as your friend, as the one who knows your tears before they fall, you will feel a new closeness that no public display of piety could ever give you. And you will begin to understand that the essence of prayer is not impressing people, but emptying your heart before the Almighty. And you will discover the relief of no longer hiding from Him, the peace that comes from saying, Ya Allah, I am broken, I am weak, I am not who I should be, but I am here before you, hoping for your mercy. And you will realize that when you remove pretense, your worship stops being a duty, and starts becoming a lifeline. Because the moment you drop the act, the moment you stop trying to sound perfect, that is the moment your soul begins to breathe again in the presence of the One, who already knows everything, yet still waits for you to tell Him yourself. Speak to Him as if you truly believe He hears you, because deep down, faith is not just an idea you agree with in theory. It's the way you carry yourself in prayer. The way your voice changes when you know the one you are talking to is listening in real time. The way your heart leans in, as if He is right there beside you. For when you believe Allah is actually hearing your words, every sentence becomes alive with meaning, and every request carries a weight of certainty. And you stop mumbling through your duas, as if they are a list you just need to get through. Instead you speak with purpose, with focus, knowing that nothing escapes His attention, and believing that before you even finish your sentence, He has already heard and understood the depth behind it. And when you come to Him with that awareness, you begin to slow down in your prayers. You choose your words more thoughtfully, not to impress, but because you want to truly express what is in your heart. And when you believe He hears you, you stop doubting whether your whispers matter. You stop wondering if your tears are wasted, because you know that every sigh, every pause, every trembling word is recorded and valued by the Lord of the worlds. And this belief transforms the way you approach your supplications. It makes you more patient, more persistent, because when you are certain that He hears you, unanswered prayers do not discourage you. They just remind you that the one who heard you is also the one who knows when and how to respond in the best way. And when you believe He hears you, you find it easier to pour your heart out without shame, without holding back, because you know that He is not just hearing your words, but also feeling your pain, understanding your fears, and appreciating your gratitude. And in that moment, the connection becomes more than ritual. It becomes a meeting between the soul and its Creator. And that belief makes you guard your time with Him more fiercely, because you start to realize that this is not just prayer time. It's an audience with the King of Kings, where every word spoken reaches the highest heavens without delay. And when you truly believe he hears you, you will also find yourself speaking to him more often outside of formal prayers, whispering to him while walking, talking to him while driving, sharing your day with him, as if you are in constant conversation, because you no longer see prayer as something limited to certain times, but as an ongoing dialogue that never gets ignored. And the more you live in that reality, the more your heart feels secure, because you are no longer speaking into silence, you are speaking into the presence of the one who hears every thought before it even becomes a word. Pour out your struggles, fears, and hopes without holding back, because Allah already knows the storms you face, yet there is healing in releasing them from the prison of your chest, into the hands of the one who can calm any storm. And when you speak to him about the things that weigh you down, you begin to feel the heavy load shift, not because the problem disappears instantly but because you have transferred it to the care of the Almighty. And when you pour out your struggles, you can tell him every detail without the fear of being misunderstood, for he knows the hidden reasons behind every tear, every sleepless night, every anxious thought. And he understands the battles you cannot explain to anyone else. And when you speak to him about your fears, you don't have to sugarcoat them. You don't have to pretend to be brave. You can admit that you are scared of failing, scared of losing someone, scared of the unknown, because he is the one who can replace fear with courage, uncertainty with clarity, and restlessness with peace. And when you share your hopes, you can dream without limits. You can ask for the impossible, because the one you are speaking to is not bound by human limitations. He can give you what no one else can, open doors you cannot see, and create a way where there was none. And pouring out your heart like this is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of trust, because it means you believe that he cares enough to listen, that your emotions matter to him, and that your life is safe in his hands. And when you stop holding back, when you stop filtering what you say out of fear that it's too small, too messy, or too much, you will find that you begin to feel lighter, freer, because you no longer have to carry the burden alone. And you will realize that your struggles become easier to endure when you have placed them before the one who can change them. Your fears lose their power when you hand them over to the one who controls everything, and your hopes feel more alive when you have entrusted them to the one who is more generous than your imagination can fathom. Thank him in detail for every blessing, big or small, because gratitude is not just about saying, Alhamdulillah. As a habit, it is about pausing to truly notice the countless favors that surround you. The ones so obvious you overlook them, and the ones so hidden you might never have seen them until you began to reflect. And when you start naming them one by one, you realize how much he has already given you even before you asked, and that awareness deepens your love for him. For the food you eat is not just a plate of sustenance, but a direct provision from the most generous. The roof over your head is not just a shelter, but a sign of his care. The air you breathe without effort is a silent miracle happening every moment of your life. And when you thank him for the people in your life, you realize how much they shape your days. From the loved ones who comfort you to the strangers whose small acts of kindness made your burdens lighter. And when you thank him for your health, even if it is not perfect, you begin to appreciate the body parts that still function without pain, the heartbeat that has not missed a day, the eyes that open to light every morning. And when you go into detail like this, you begin to see blessings where others see nothing. Because gratitude sharpens your vision. It allows you to notice the beauty in the sunrise, the mercy in a delayed plan, the hidden protection in a closed door. And when you thank him for your trials, you acknowledge that even in hardship there is wisdom, that every test carried a lesson, a growth, or a redirection you might not have found otherwise. And the more you name your blessings, the more you feel a shift in your heart, because you stop focusing solely on what is missing and start recognizing the abundance that is already here. And when you are detailed in your gratitude, your relationship with Allah transforms, because it becomes more intimate, more personal, as if you are telling him, I see what you've done for me, I know it was from you, and I am thankful. And this act of noticing and acknowledging not only pleases him, but opens the door for more, because he has promised that if you are grateful, he will increase you. And when you start living with this mindset, your du'as become richer, because they are not just requests, but also long conversations of appreciation, where you speak about the little things like the taste of water on a hot day, the way you woke up safely this morning, the fact that your heart still beats while you sleep. And this deep gratitude softens your heart, makes your tongue more truthful, and brings you a sense of peace that nothing else can match. End every prayer with gratitude and trust in his timing, because when you rise from your place of dua, You are declaring to your own heart that you have handed the matter over to the one who is all wise and all merciful, and there is no better place for your requests to be than in his care. And gratitude at the end of your prayer shifts your focus from what you are asking for to what you have already been given, reminding you that the same Lord who blessed you before will bless you again, and that your life is already filled with countless signs of his mercy. And when you consciously thank him, after making your requests, you anchor your heart in humility, acknowledging that even if you receive nothing else, you are already in possession of more blessings than you can count, from the gift of faith to the ability to even make dua. And when you pair that gratitude with trust in his timing, you free yourself from the anxiety of wondering when or how your prayer will be answered, because you know that the one who holds time in his hand does not delay without reason. And sometimes what feels like a delay is actually protection, preparation, or a redirection towards something far better. And when you trust his timing, you stop measuring his love by how quickly your requests are granted, because your relationship with him is deeper than transactions. It is built on surrender, and in that surrender is peace. For you can walk away from your prayer mat with a calm heart, knowing that whether your answer comes tomorrow, next year, or in a completely different form than you imagined, it will come in the best way possible. And this trust transforms the way you live between prayers, because you are no longer restless, no longer desperate to force outcomes. Instead, you move forward with patience, continuing to make effort, while knowing that the results are already written. And ending your prayer with both gratitude and trust turns every act of worship into a moment of release, where you place your burdens down and refuse to pick them back up in worry. And it makes you more consistent in your prayers, because you no longer see them as a way to demand what you want, but as a sacred meeting where you express your needs, give thanks for what is, and affirm your confidence that what is coming will be even better. And the more you live in this state, the lighter your heart feels, because gratitude keeps you anchored in the present, and trust keeps you hopeful for the future, creating a balance where you can truly say that whatever Allah decides for you, you are at peace with it deep within your soul. When you learn to speak to Allah with the certainty that He understands you better than you understand yourself, your prayers take on a different depth, because you stop overthinking how to phrase your words, and instead let your heart pour them out naturally, knowing that even when your sentences are broken or your tears interrupt your speech, He grasps the full meaning behind every syllable, every pause, every unspoken thought. And this awareness lifts the pressure to be perfect in your dua, because the one you are addressing is the one who fashioned your heart, who knows the story behind every scar, who sees the chain of events that led to this very moment of you turning to Him. And when you believe He understands you completely, you stop feeling the need to hide parts of yourself in prayer, because you know He already knows the truth, even the truths you struggle to admit to yourself. And this gives you the freedom to be real with Him, to confess your weaknesses without fear of rejection, to share your dreams without fear of them being too big, and to cry over your pain without fear of being seen as weak. And when you speak from this place of assurance, your prayer stops being a formal recitation and starts becoming a soul-deep conversation, because you are speaking to the one who not only hears but understands. And this changes the way you experience hardship, because you no longer feel the need to explain every detail in desperation, as though He might not grasp the urgency. Instead, you rest in the fact that He already knows, He already cares, and He is already at work in ways you cannot see. And in this trust, your heart finds a quiet strength, because you realize you do not have to carry the weight alone, nor do you have to find perfect words to get His attention, for His attention has always been on you. And the beauty of knowing He understands is that you can come to Him in any state, broken, joyful, exhausted, hopeful, and know that nothing you say will be misunderstood, nothing will be dismissed, and nothing will be lost in translation. And this certainty not only deepens your connection to Him, but also teaches you to rely less on the approval of people, because you know that the one who matters most already knows the truth of who you are and what you are going through. And this realization makes every moment of prayer an intimate meeting where your heart is fully seen, fully known, and fully understood. Make your conversations with Allah a daily habit, not something reserved only for times of crisis, because when you speak to Him consistently, you build a relationship that is strong enough to carry you through both ease and hardship. And the more you turn to Him throughout the day, the more natural it becomes to include Him in every thought, every plan, every fear, and every joy. And you begin to understand that prayer is not only a ritual performed at set times, but an ongoing dialogue with the one who never leaves your side. and this habit keeps your heart anchored. Because no matter what changes around you, your connection with Him remains constant. And when you make it a practice to talk to Allah in small moments, while walking, while working, while lying in bed, you begin to feel His presence more vividly in your life, as if your entire day is wrapped in His awareness and care. And these little conversations remind you that you are never truly alone, that even in a crowded room where no one notices your struggles, He sees and hears you. And this awareness brings a deep comfort that no human companionship can match. And the beauty of speaking to Him daily is that it trains your heart to seek Him first before turning to anyone else, so that when difficulties arise, your instinct is to run to your prayer mat, or to quietly call on Him wherever you are, rather than panicking or placing your trust entirely in people. And over time, this habit shapes your character, because the more you talk to Allah, the more mindful you become of your words, your actions, and your intentions, as you remember that you are constantly in the company of the Almighty, and it becomes easier to resist temptation, easier to forgive, and easier to show kindness. Because you are living with the awareness that He is part of your every moment, and this daily connection also makes your formal prayers richer. Because you are no longer approaching them as strangers meeting a few times a day, but as close friends continuing a conversation that never really ended. And the consistency of speaking to Him through the highs and lows allows you to recognize His hand in everything, to thank Him for the smallest blessings, to seek guidance before making decisions, and to release your worries before they grow heavy on your heart. And as this habit deepens, you start to feel that even if the entire world turned away from you, you would still have everything you need, because you have the One who controls all outcomes listening to you, guiding you, and watching over you in every single moment. Make your conversations with Allah a daily habit, not something reserved only for times of crisis. Because when you speak to Him consistently, you build a relationship that becomes unshakable, a bond that is nurtured not just in the moments when you are desperate for help, but also in the moments when your heart is light, and your life feels full. And the more you turn to Him throughout the day, the more you begin to realize that He is not a distant figure waiting for you only at the prayer times, but an ever-present, all-knowing, all-caring Lord who is with you in every moment. And this constant awareness transforms the way you live, because you no longer separate your spiritual life from your daily life. They become one and the same, every action, every choice, every step becoming an opportunity to connect with Him. And when you make it a practice to talk to Allah in the small and seemingly insignificant moments, while walking down the street, while preparing food, while commuting, while lying in bed at night, you begin to feel a closeness that grows deeper each day, because you are weaving Him into the fabric of your life. And this closeness builds a sense of safety in your heart that nothing in this world can replace, knowing that even when you cannot put your feelings into words, He hears the whispers of your soul and understands them completely. And this habit teaches you to involve Him in everything, in your decisions, in your relationships, in your dreams, and even in your frustrations, and you start to seek His guidance before taking action, knowing that His wisdom sees what you cannot. And when difficulties arise, your first instinct will be to turn to Him, instead of running in panic, or relying solely on people who may not understand your struggle. And the more you practice this, the less isolated you feel, because you know you have an open line to the One who will never turn you away. And speaking to Him regularly also makes your formal prayers richer and more heartfelt, because they are no longer disconnected moments in your day, but rather a continuation of a conversation you have been having all along. And this consistency allows you to be more present in your salah, to recite with more meaning, and to feel more deeply the weight and beauty of each word. And as you keep the habit alive, you will notice that you become more mindful of your actions, because you are aware that you are living every moment in the company of Allah. And this awareness influences your decisions, makes you more careful with your words, more sincere in your dealings, more patient in your trials, and more grateful in your blessings. And over time, this constant connection softens your heart, making you quicker to forgive, slower to anger, and more willing to let go of grudges, because you know you are under His watchful eye, and you trust Him to handle matters you cannot control. And talking to Him daily also changes the way you see the world, because you begin to notice His signs everywhere, in the way the sun rises without fail, in the way a problem suddenly finds a solution, in the way you are protected from harm you never even knew was near. And the more you notice, the more you want to thank Him, the more you want to seek Him, and the more you want to depend on Him. And as this habit becomes part of who you are, you will find that you don't just speak to Allah when you need something. You speak to Him because you love the peace that comes from knowing He is listening. And you will see how this daily dialogue strengthens your faith, because with each passing day, you have more evidence in your own life that He is present, that He cares, and that He responds in ways that are sometimes immediate, and sometimes so subtle you only notice them much later. And this realization makes you more patient, because you know that even if an answer hasn't arrived yet, it is not because He hasn't heard you, but because He is preparing the best outcome. And you will also find that speaking to Allah throughout the day helps to calm your mind and lift your burdens, because every time you release your thoughts and worries to Him, you are no longer carrying them alone. And this habit also keeps arrogance away from your heart, because you are constantly reminded that you are dependent on Him for every breath, every step, every heartbeat, and this humility draws you closer to Him, making your love for Him grow stronger, and your reliance on Him more natural. And the beauty of making this a daily habit is that it shapes your entire outlook on life, teaching you to see blessings where others see nothing, to find lessons in difficulties, and to find hope even when circumstances seem hopeless. And the more you nurture this practice, the more you realize that even if every person in the world turned away from you, you would still have everything you need, because you have the one who holds all power and all goodness listening to you, guiding you, and surrounding you with His mercy every single day. When you make dua with a heart that is fully present, you are giving Allah the best of your attention, not a distracted mind that wanders to worldly matters while your lips are speaking sacred words, because being present in your dua means you are conscious of who you are speaking to, aware of His greatness, mindful of His mercy, and humbled by the fact that He allows you to stand before Him despite your flaws. And this presence transforms the quality of your prayer, because instead of rushing through it as a duty to be checked off, you slow down, you choose your words carefully or let them flow sincerely, you feel the weight of each request, and you sense the hope in each praise. And when your heart is truly engaged, your dua becomes more than a formality. It becomes a heartfelt conversation where you are fully aware that you are speaking to the one who controls every outcome. And this awareness fills your words with sincerity, because you are no longer speaking for the sake of speaking, but because you are pouring yourself out before the one who matters most. And when you are present in dua, you notice the difference in how it affects you, because your focus on Allah pulls your attention away from your distractions, your worries, and your fears. And in that moment, the world around you fades, leaving only you and your Lord. And this presence is not always easy to achieve, because the mind is quick to drift. But the more you train yourself to return to the moment, to remind yourself of who you are addressing, the stronger your ability to focus becomes. And part of this presence is speaking from the heart, instead of relying only on memorized phrases you don't think about. Because while those phrases are valuable and beautiful, their power is magnified when you understand and mean every word. And when you cannot find the perfect words, you can still speak to Allah in your own language, knowing He understands every nuance, every emotion behind what you are saying. And this level of connection is what turns dua into a source of peace, because you feel heard in the deepest sense. And this presence also brings humility, because when you are fully aware of Allah's greatness, you recognize your own need and smallness. And this humility softens your voice, makes your tone more sincere, and fills your heart with awe. And as you practice being present in your dua, you will find that you are more patient in waiting for answers, because the act of speaking to Him with full attention becomes fulfilling in itself, and you no longer see dua only as a means to an end, but as a precious moment of closeness to Allah. And this perspective removes the frustration that can come from delayed answers, because you begin to see that the value of dua lies not only in what you receive, but in the transformation it brings to your heart. And when you are present, you are more likely to remember to praise Him before you ask, to send blessings upon the Prophet, to acknowledge your shortcomings, and to end with gratitude and trust, because your mind is not elsewhere, but fully engaged in the sacred moment. And over time, this kind of dua becomes a refuge for you, a safe space where you can retreat from the chaos of life, knowing that here you can be completely honest, completely vulnerable, and completely yourself. And this connection builds a spiritual intimacy that spills into the rest of your life, making you more mindful in your actions, more aware of Allah's presence outside of prayer, and more in tune with His guidance. And the more present you are in your dua, the more you begin to notice subtle changes in your heart. You become calmer, less reactive, more hopeful, and more grateful, because each sincere conversation with Allah leaves a trace of tranquility and trust behind, and those traces add up until they become a permanent part of your character. And the beauty of all this is that presence in dua is something anyone can achieve, regardless of their level of knowledge, because it is not about eloquence or memorization. It is about sincerity and focus, and the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, until your heart naturally turns toward Him, with full attention the moment you begin to speak.